Rise and Shine YouTube. Today we are looking at two mice that Zowie sent out. So I asked him about the ZA13 and the S2 because I really haven't actually ever used the shape profiles that these have before, except for like clones here and there. But Zowie, after using these shapes, really are the only ones that I would trust with these shape profiles because they do it right. When it comes down to the ZA13 and the S2, I've been using these for about a month plus, and with 16:9 hands, I can actually comfortably recommend both of these shapes for people who have my same hand shapes and for anybody who has medium to large hands, because the S2 and the ZA13 have a very good shape profile in totality, right? The ZA13 is rocking that tall hump, while the S2 lacks any hump and is more flat profiled, but the S2-DW has a wider back, where the ZA13 has a more narrowness to it. So I'll show you side by side. You can see, you can pretty much tell that the S2 is much more wider and the ZA13 is a little more thinner in the width of it, but you can feel it in hand as well. So my grip style is a relaxed claw to a kind of like hybrid palm. But when I place my hand on this, I don't feel any weird flares. The curvature from the back going into the middle is natural based on my positions of my fingers. And the way Zowie kind of makes their mice, they have a little bit of a flare out, or how it angles. You're able to lift off and reset your mouse in a more natural way than I think any other mouse on the market. Like the OP1, you really gotta kind of reset your grip when you kind of bring it up and put it down because it's really flat. Same thing with the Crazy Light, you know, it being wider in the front. You kind of gotta like reset your kind of your grip here and there. Where with the ZA13 and the S2, for me personally, I was kind of locked in the entire time I was using these mice. I didn't have an issue with changing grips, or I didn't really have that feel of needing to change a grip or getting to a different comfortable position because they were comfortable right out of the box. So the tall hump, right? I don't really place my entire palm on it since I'm more of like a relaxed claw grip. The hump really comes in around here, but that's where I only feel the hump. It doesn't really fill out the back half, and it doesn't get in the way. So like the X2H Mini that I used, the hump really got in the way of your movements because of how aggressive the back end came in, and just the hump was more forced than more natural. And the 10s from Pulsar, that hump actually felt taller and bigger, and it just, I don't know. The ZA13, I think, is probably one of the best kind of hump profile mice on the market. And if you are a claw gripper, you can get a good claw, but I think the S2 is going to be a better claw grip because of the width of the shape than the ZA13. But with me, the ZA13, I'll spoil it here now, is a clear winner for the shape between the S2 versus the ZA, because it flows, it feels natural, even though it feels slightly bigger than I like. I mean, it is more catered toward medium hands. The ZA13 is the clear winner from the S2. But let's talk about the S2 shape now. The S2 shape, like I said, is that flat hump profile, but a wider back end. So with my grip, the palm contact kind of spans the entire width of my palm. You can kind of see it here and how I grip it. It's much more wider in hand feel. So if you are a claw grip user, I think the ZA, or not the ZA, but the S2 is a much safer option where you'll get a much better control. And for me, that's kind of how I gripped it. My ring finger and pinky are on the side, pretty much flat, not really curving too crazy. My thumb's just more neutral in the middle. Side buttons are placed fantastic on both, by the way. And the only thing that I didn't really like on the S2 is how bulbous this outer half is on the front half. So with my ring finger, I can really kind of feel that kick out, right? It's not an aggressive like downward slant, so you get that weird feeling like the Atlantis Mini. It's just, it pushes outward a little bit, but you can feel it. Now if I lower my hands down a little bit, I can do that, but I'm going to be more susceptible to changing my grip here and there to find that more comfortable feel, because the shape profile is definitely a lot different than the ZA for me. But when I used it, it felt perfect in game, right? It was comfortable. I didn't cramp up, which is one thing with mice. Sometimes my hands would cramp based on the side profile and everything like that. These were phenomenal, right? Skate choice. So we just talked about the shapes, skate choices here that they made. These aren't the stock skates. Both of these came with the white PTFE skates, full form on both. The full form white PTFE gave you a little more openness. It opened up the speed a little bit of the Zowie mice on cloth pads, and then they came with the black Teflon skates inside the box that you can replace them with. That gave you a little more control. So Zowie offered you two choices of speed or control with their skate choices. Phenomenal option. The black ones were my favorite on glass, but the white ones were a more comfortable feeling on cloth and glass together. But I have the Midori Vanta Blacks Amber on the ZA and the Vanta Shifts on the S2. Otherwise, stock skates felt perfectly fine. You don't have to change them, but with my testing, I was testing to see which ones I like more, primarily on the Molten Edges, Molten Edge, Blitz, and QCW Pels through and through. So we talked about the shapes. The shapes were phenomenal. They fit my hand size very, very well. These are mainable mice, right? Ryse approves, shocking, in the names of Boardsy, right? These were damn good shapes. The skates, they had great skate choices. The QC on these now, tanks, no flexing, no popping, no creaking. The scroll wheel on the S2, I think it's just unit to unit basis, feels looser in the scrolls versus the ZA13, but they're very, very spammable, right? They're nice, crisp when you click on them. The S2 has a little more of a crispiness to it. The side buttons both feel very, very good, with a little more extra crispiness on my S2 versus the ZA, which I think it's just unit to unit basis, just QC, right? But I do think the main clicks now could be slightly better. They feel a little hollow. And if they were just crispy, a little more crispy, like the OP1, it would be perfect, the clicks. But I think it's just coming down to like the click structure and the shell design and how the full shell is the top half of the mouse. But Zowie did again like a damn good job on these mice all in all with the clicks. The click feel, like I said, could be a little better, but it's nothing that is game changing, that is going to really change how you game, right? When it comes down to sensor performance is big when it comes to mice, because not all sensors are made the same. If you don't know, now you do know. These sport the top specs that you'll see on the market now. They have the 4K enhanced receiver. I use these on 1K, 2K. I did use it on 4K just for testing, but I went back to 1K, 2K because I like battery life. Meanwhile, these last a good bit, on 4K. I didn't, feel a difference between the different hertz, so I just use 1 or 2K here and there. But yeah, when it comes to the weight, 65 grams, perfectly weight balanced in my opinion. These things don't feel like 65 gram mice. They feel lighter. OP1 feels more dense. Shapes, they're really good for small hands. You won't have an issue kind of changing from a larger mice or a smaller mice to a larger mice. Like I was using the Crazy Light. I was using the M2 Pro, right? Much smaller mice. And then going from small mice to a larger mouse, I actually got more stability. It was more comfortable in hand. My tracking was even better in Apex, the finals, stuff like that. So shape's a plus. The performance of the sensor, spot on. I had no tracking issues. The only thing on glass, if you have the lowest LOD, you might get a spin out here or two. I think I only had 2, within the last month and a half using these mice, but after raising your LOD to the highest, I had 0 issues. Now, when it comes to changing your DPI and everything, you do get a manual that will give you button combinations, which one thing that Zowie could change in the future is making a web-based software, right? Catch up with Vaxi, because Vaxi has their web-based. It works flawlessly for them. Just make a web-based so you can go in there, click, change, bada bing, bada boom, without holding different button combinations and doing everything like that. What things I would change shape-wise, right? Honestly, I would just make them a hair smaller, right? Shorter. Not really in like the height or anything, but make the mouse a touch shorter, and the front half of these mice just a little more narrow. I think it would be perfect for smaller hands. So Zowie, if you want to make, extra small sizes of your Zowie mice, would hit me up. Bada bing, bada boom. But I'm going to see if I can get the EC3-DW from them as well, because I used the CW of that version. That mouse shape is awesome. And 10 plus grams lighter, EC3 would be fantastic too. But overall, in conclusion, if you are somebody who has small hands and want to try Zowie mice, right, my top recommendation will be the ZA13 or the EC3. If you want something more of that FK2 shape, S2 shape kind of style, go ahead and try it, right? It's not going to be for everyone, but you will still get that nice, good lock-in feel. It's just depending on your width of your hand and everything like that. Zowie, thank you. I appreciate you. Damn good mice. We're going to be going live here in a little bit, testing some keyboards, but we'll be using the ZA13-DW for a while. Love you guys. Rise up. God bless. See you for the next one.